Welcome to the Eisenstein Effect. I'm your host, Vickie Eisenstein, and these are my guests.
I'm Edward Soderberg. These are my friends.
This is Christopher Dravus here.
I'm Danny Bass.
And this is like the awkwardest intro I've had so far. Anyway, these guys are the co-founder of Ironrise Games. Mm-hmm. Is it games at the end there? Yes. I've appended games, and I was correct in my appendage. And they are also game designers, which is super cool. So guys, tell me, how did this all come to be?
I've always been interested in board games, card games. I even tried making some when I was younger. Horrible failures.
Oh no.
We go to Gen Con every year. It's a big gaming convention in Indianapolis. After having gone that previous year, I sort of had this notion in my head, like, well, maybe I want to try that. I want to have a go at this. And it was always just seemed very overwhelming. And then we went to C2E2. It's here in Chicago in April. I was there with Danny. Christopher unfortunately couldn't make it. And I saw a lot of our friends kind of engage in their creative endeavors there. They were running booths, they were doing shows, interviews, whatever else, and I just kind of felt like, I want that. I want some kind of creative venture too. Chris actually had been a DMing, dungeon mastering, kind of a Dungeons and Dragons setting of his own entire creation from scratch, and it was this world of Ironrise, or set in the city of Ironrise. So that was kind of floating around my head too, because I really enjoyed it, and Chris is an amazing storyteller, story writer. I sat down with Danny, I was like, do you think maybe we should try to make a board game? I think that would be kind of fun, and maybe we have the wherewithal to pull it off.
Yeah.
Very important to this though, what do you think the chances are Chris let us use his copyright, like use his material? Do you think he'll let us set this game in his world? So we talked about it, we got really excited. I don't even remember any of the rest of the convention. The next day,
all one big blur.
The entire time we were walking around after lunch, we were just talking about, can we use this piece? Can we do something, what could we do in the game to...
Yeah.
We started brainstorming ideas for the game, and pretty much immediately we were like, we should do this.
Yeah.
So
no, that's great when an idea hits and you're like, this is it.
Exactly.
And then the next day, Chris was back in town, Danny came over, and I don't know, maybe we freaked him out because it was a bit like an intervention, almost like, hey, Chris, you come down.
It seemed really serious at first, and then they were just like, well, hey, we want to make a board game, can we use that material? And I was like, well, yeah, of course, let's all do this together.
And then Chris was in. That day we hammered out the core mechanic that stuck with us for a year and a half now through development. And then since then we've just been kind of advancing along. It's the three of us, but in reality it's the three of us plus our friends in the community around us. That's part of kind of what inspired it too, is that we're really not going it alone. Like, we've had a couple of photographers work on things for us. They're both our friends and professionals. The artist we're using, Yusuf Abanama, he was a friend beforehand. We were just familiar with his work. Why don't we get him to do this and maybe some more stuff. A lot of the editing, play testing, all that kind of stuff are all our friends. In fact, the way the game's developed is we've had these core ideas, and the game was horrible when it started, but it had a lot of potential. I always felt. And we had these friends that were just like really interested in helping us out, really great people, and they'd give us ideas bit by bit, or suggestions or feedback. Honestly, most of the game at this point is sort of us assimilating what our friends can give us and incorporating it.
Interesting. So then where did the basis of your first ideas for the game come from that you had?
We played a lot of games. Like, at this point we've played everything, every rule, every mechanic, and we just started talking about what do we like, what do we don't, what is great about a game, what is horrible about a game, and it kind of came from there. We decided that what we all enjoy are games that are about resource management, that shy away from dice when possible, that require a little bit of strategy, a little bit of politicking, things like that. So we took everything we loved and tried to find a way to incorporate mechanics into that and tie it all into one game.
Gotcha. So is this like a card game, or?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it is a board game that uses cards instead of dice to accomplish certain tasks in the game.
So wait, where are you now in the stages of the company?
So right about now, I guess we're at the point where we're building toward our what we call our beta edition of the game, which is incorporating all the art that we currently have. There's still more in development. The rules are at a pretty solid place at the moment. They need a little bit of tweaking and a little more development, but we're putting together what we want to be our final prototype.
Yep.
Gotcha.
Mostly a lot of polishing to make sure everything works out smoothly. You want to have it set up so when someone's playing it, that there's nothing where, oh, I can't do this because it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
There's no conflict. You want to have all that smoothed out so it's a fun experience.
Do you guys have any like improv background or anything? Because I can see that coming in handy, but...
No, but a lot of our friends do. In fact, the models that we used, an interesting lesson for me actually. We are models in our own game, because why wouldn't we be? There are two villains, I'm a hero, of course.
Really? Okay.
And a lot of, most, if not all of the models we used have improv backgrounds or performers of some sort. So an interesting thing that came up there is when the photographer's taking a picture of me or Danny, it doesn't really apply to Chris, his character wears a mask.
Okay.
It takes a long time to get the right look, like a satisfactory whatever. And I just thought, oh, it's just taking a picture of someone. I just make a face, make a pose.
Yeah.
It's fine, 2 or 3 shots, it's good. But me and Danny looked horribly awkward through hundreds of these pictures. We just couldn't express whatever, like anger, fear, pain, whatever. We get one of our performer friends up there. I remember specifically a friend of ours, Claire Friedman. And she's been an improviser too. And she was up there and we wanted like a certain range of pictures. It took her 20 seconds to go through like a full spectrum. It took me and Danny 20 minutes to get like a couple good pictures.
I'm so curious, can you tell me a little bit about the world that you designed?
Sure. So Ironrise itself is a city on a world called Spiral. The overall setting I would describe as a sort of steampunk, horror, I guess Victorian everything.
We never use any of those words in our own descriptions. We never use the S word, steampunk, but it is sort of there.
It's the S word, okay.
It's a world that there's a lot of mystery to it. There are a lot of great heroes, a lot of great villains. Everybody has their own scheme or their own endeavor that they're trying to accomplish. It's a really fascinating world, I think. I might be a little biased because I created it. But
it is.
No, it's good to have pride in you. It would be bad if you were like, it's really not that great.
It's a great setting for these things to take place in. There's so much mystery and horror, and it's dark. Everybody tells me that it's dark, I guess is probably the...
It's horrible. You wouldn't want to live in this world for sure.
So it's a little bit like Westeros or something?
I would say it has a dystopian feel to it. It's got the sort of hidden government that watches every move that you make, and they have their own sort of sinister undertones while the world itself carries on top of that.
Gotcha.
So, very David Lynchian, like there is the normal world and there's this horrible something underneath that is happening, and I could talk about it all day.
How is it taking an idea like this and then kind of like going into the business side of that?
When we started doing this, we started knocking out stuff really quick and everything was the best idea and everything was going to be perfect and there were no road bumps. We started in April and we thought we would be kickstarting this thing in that fall.
That October.
But this style of game will probably going to be closer to 2 years. That being said, people in our shoes are close to 2 years. And for a lot of reasons that I appreciate now, I didn't appreciate it at the same time. That's part of why it's great to work with these guys, is if I was with just about anyone else's partners, we would have hit a wall and it would just die. But there's always one of us at least who's pulling it forwards, even if something doesn't work out or something doesn't quite work, wasn't quite as we expected. Really, every time we do something, we do it wrong the first time. But I think it's important that we know that. And we call each other on our BS, and we're very blunt and straight, and I think our arguments always work out and we're a step ahead and we've worked something out. The acknowledgement, it was important that point when we acknowledged that we didn't know anything that we were doing, but are willing to learn. And again, that's why it's great working with these guys. I'm not sure I could we could do that with anyone
After
else.
after that first, like, okay, we're gonna set a deadline. We'll be done at this point. We realized can't set deadlines like that because we don't know enough about the industry, about what it's involved. It's been kind of like we want to get to this point at this time. We're kind of doing most like mini goals to kind of gives you something to work for.
Yeah, definitely. Otherwise, I mean, if you're just like, okay, and we're gonna have the product launch, then it's like, it's not happening. So I
we
can
get
see
really
that happen.
paranoid if we think we hit anything on the head on the first try.
Yeah.
So
Gotcha.
anything that seems great, the moment we think it up and it's working, we're like, whoa, something's got to be wrong here. So
Gotcha.
I
we
developed
spend
a
a lot
lot
of
of
time
a lot of pride in it too, which is weird. Like I don't think the pride was even necessarily there in the first place. Just like, oh, here's a cool idea. I'm gonna do it with these friends of mine. It'll be a fun time, and we'll come out with something. It'll be great. But over time, like Danny was talking about those deadlines, we cut those away because it's kind of like, well, now this is our baby, you know, and we've all got. I mean, I don't want to speak for you guys, but like I got a lot of pride in this thing.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
To like individually and as a group.
Yeah.
And so it's really it's ready when it's ready and not a minute before.
Yeah, get it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I can appreciate that. So how long were you guys, well, how long have you guys been friends?
I think Chris in high
like we knew each
school-
other in high school, and then we reconnected. Is it like 7-8 years ago at this point?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
At a Gorilla Tango show.
I joined in late because I'm not originally from the Chicago area, so I actually met Ed in law school.
Oh, okay.
And
In
then-
China.
Yeah, in China.
But you guys were in China?
Yep.
No way, I
Yeah.
studied abroad in Beijing.
Nice.
So did we.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, we were in Beijing, Xi'an, Shanghai. How long were we there?
A month.
A month.
So yeah, so we didn't learn any Chinese. But we were
No,
there.
no.
Gotcha. All right. Yeah, I was there for a semester in the summer. So, and then I spent some time in Taiwan, which was awesome too. Does this ever get in the way of your friendship? That you're like, oh no, we like to the struggles of this making this game and this company, does it get in the way?
No, I don't think so. If anything, it brought us a lot closer, if anything, than
Yeah.
we were before. And I think with us uniquely, anytime like a struggle or something comes up, like we present it to each other and we say, like, what solutions can we have, or can I pass this one to you, or can you take this thing on? You know, so whatever it is that pops up, we work together around it rather than looking at it like a problem that somebody created and let's figure out accountability and who's wrong and who's right.
Gotcha.
So, yeah.
We started out kind of like with thinking about very specific roles that we'd each have, and we'd all be parts of this puzzle. Where, and in part, like there are things that some of us handle in different degrees. Like Chris is, I'd say, he's kind of the creative lead. Like he's the source material of a lot of stuff. I do a lot of the organizing and editing. Danny does a lot of the actual physical product, talking with the potential
Prototypes,
printer,
stuff like that.
prototypes, things like
Okay.
that. But we're all very organic around filling in the gaps around each other. Like Chris said, I mean, I wouldn't even call them necessarily arguments, but we'll disagree on anything new. But our process, maybe just luck, we were lucky that it just works out that at the end of the day, we all walk away happy with the decision that's made, or it fails and we try something else. But we never hold it against each other. And I mean, honestly, it's a pleasure working with these guys. It's never been, except for that one time. No, no.
The time. It's referred to in hushed whispers from now on.
People died, things were burned.
Yeah.
But
I can imagine.
I think part of it is that we've nothing's been locked in. So like we'll go through it, we'll play test, and if it doesn't end up working out, we're willing to. We've changed a bunch of stuff and we've moved stuff back and forth a couple of times. So it's you're not really married to any one idea until it actually works.
So why did you decide on an actual like physical card game? Why didn't you decide to do like say a video game?
None of us can program.
right.
All right.
But we did get kind of caught up in the whole, like, the golden age of board games, as some people will say we're currently in, and there's no sign at the end of it, is a reaction to video games.
We're in
and
a golden
to-
age of board games?
Oh, yeah.
I didn't even know that.
Oh, these are going
This makes me feel
way
great
up.
about
For,
the
like,
time I
last-
live in.
Yep.
The last 3 years,
It's
maybe?
good times to be alive.
At least.
Yeah, and
I had no idea.
it's a reaction to video games, to smartphones, all these other things. Like a lot of game companies are selling way more copies of things just to families again because their game nights are coming back. And,
okay.
it's a great time to try to make your own game and everything like that. And I think a video game, even if we did have the wherewithal to put it together, would kind of be disingenuous to what we enjoy and how we came to where we are.
Yeah, video games, I think, exist now very differently from the way they were when we were kids. Like, you would get together and you would play with your friend, and he would be holding the controller, and we'd be doing that. But video games today are designed, for the most part, to be played with somebody who is a nameless face and a gamer handle somewhere. And so what we like about board games is that it gets 4, 5, 6 people who are your best friends around a table, and you're hanging out and you're talking to people. And I think that's a more engaging and just an overall better experience.
Is there some place that people can go? You haven't started your Kickstarter yet, right?
No.
Okay.
That's going to hopefully come early next year. At the moment, we do have a Facebook page where we throw up a lot of the art, a lot of pictures of what we're doing, kind of. Sometimes it'll even create open discussion on like rules and what we're doing there. That's Ironrise Games on Facebook. We're Ironrise Games on Twitter. There is an Instagram account I'm running for it, but there's not a whole lot up there yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I would definitely like to call attention to all the people that helped us get this together too. There's so many great people in the community that, look at our stuff. Our stuff is great, but look at theirs too. I mean, there's our artist, Yusuf Abanama, is excellent and supremely talented. Our kind of part-time editor, Lauren Fates, from Geek Girl Chicago, does amazing work. Vanessa Waliko, who was one of our models and helped us with numerous different things.
And is in a previous episode, which I could link
I could go
to
on
right
and
here.
on. There are so many people that I would eat up her whole podcast. But please, visit the Facebook page, look at these people, follow the links to their work. They do great things too.
Aaron Amendola.
Aaron Amendola, yeah.
He's been an amazing help. A lot of these models too costumed themselves. Did an amazing job of it. Sandy Hunter, we cannot forget Sandy Hunter.
Sandy Hunter designed a great deal of our props.
Yeah. In fact, our best prop, I can't wait for this piece of art to come out too, this resonance grenade that we were wrestling with for so long. Like, how do we make this steampunk, powerful, person-melting grenade? Sandy just comes over one day to kind of hang out, and I show her my base idea. I'm just going to take this camping torch flashlight, not a flashlight, like a
lantern,
modern lantern, LED lantern. I'm going to throw a couple cogs on that and make it into a whatever. And she just gives me this look like, no, that's bullshit, Ed. You're not going to do that. Get me a couple beers, and I'm going to plug in my soldering iron, and she made this the most beautiful... She made a huge gun for us too. All the really cool stuff is from her prop making. Also, Logan Dean, he made my favorite character's big gun, all steampunky and stuff like that. I mean, again, there's just so many people we could mention.
Well, thank you so much, guys, for being on my show.
Thank you.
It's been great. And if you're listening to this on the podcast, go ahead, check out the YouTube interview where you can see the guys. And if you're watching this, you can also listen to the podcast too. There's so many choices. Check out @Eisenstein EFCT on Twitter, and also check out my website, www.VickieEisenstein.com, or my personal Twitter, @Vickie Ironstone. There we go. I think we got it all. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.